All right, guys, real quickly. Today we're going to do a review of the JP Enhanced Reliability AR Fire Control Spring Set, and it's supposed to give your mil-spec or standard AR-15 or AR platform trigger anywhere around 3.5 pounds. Okay, so that's 3 pounds, 8 ounces. All right, now click that subscribe button before I forget, and let's dive into it. Okay, so on the last video, I showed you guys how to get down between, about 3.25 and 3.5 pounds. All right. Now, since then, I've taken the gun to the range, run it through its paces, and that brings us here to the review. Okay. Now, unfortunately, I did not start off with the enhanced reliability spring set before I polished the trigger. Okay, I did not start off that way. So I only put these springs in after I had the trigger polished up and worked up really well. Okay, so that brings us to this point. Shooting at the range, it feels a whole lot better, even though it was only a little bit over a pound that I reduced it down to. I could still feel the difference. All right, and at the trigger, at the range, I'm sorry, you're pulling the trigger fast. So, you don't feel anything. You're just focusing on your target and your shot placement and everything like that. Now, if we go a step further, we look at it. So they come with 3 springs. Okay. You get a reduced power trigger spring, reduced power hammer spring, and it feels like it's an extra power disconnector spring. Okay, it's a little bit longer, but it does feel like the weight is a little bit heavier on that small disconnector spring. Okay, now with all 3 of these springs installed, as you guys seen on the last video, if you haven't, go ahead and check that out. All right, I averaged 3 pounds 6 ounces. Okay, on the trigger pull weight, and what I noticed was with the JP springs in the firearm, the reset is a little bit softer. Okay. It's still a tactile reset. You can hear it, you can feel it. But of course, because of that reduced power trigger spring, that reset is a little bit softer. All right. And then also you have a little bit more, it's like a softer take up. But it's actually the sear engaging, or the front of the trigger, or the sear engaging, the bottom of the hammer. Okay. And the hammer is going to go this direction and the trigger is going to go down this direction. Right. So at the bottom where they mate, they're going to rub together for a little bit. And that's what I'm talking about. Okay. So when you're pulling the trigger slow, it feels like it's a little bit more pre-travel, so to speak. Okay, that's just a feeling. All right, that's just only when you're pulling it slow. All right, like I said, when you're at the range, you don't notice it because you pull the trigger a lot faster than that when you're about to shoot. So that's the only difference that I noticed. Okay, with how I had it before, when it was coming in at around 4 pounds 8 ounces, 4 pounds 11 ounces. I guess because of the stronger springs, it just felt like the trigger was breaking right away. Okay. Maybe that was due to, the extra spring tension, and you having to just, as soon as you pull it, it just felt like it was snapping right away. All right. And, it could be just something minor, right? Because we're just splitting hairs, just analyzing the differences here. But in all, very satisfied in those situations where you're shooting rapid shots. That's when you notice it the most, because with the heavier trigger, when you're pulling that trigger fast, you have the little bit of recoil that's coming from the firearm. All right. That's making your gun, want to move over or move up. And then, just having to hold a firearm back on line or on target, anything extra, which a heavier pull weight would do, is that pulls you offline, just a little bit. Now, if you're just shooting, one shot at a time, you don't notice it as much because, you're shooting and you're taking a break, you're setting up, you're shooting again. But that's where you notice it the most. So it definitely makes you a little bit more accurate, all right, being that you don't have to pull the trigger as hard. And it definitely works. But I think you have to have a polished trigger or a trigger that has a very smooth coating on it. Some of these mil-spec triggers come with nickel boron coating, or some of them are stainless steel, things of that nature. So I don't know how those would perform with the springs in. They may give you a low pull weight in the beginning as well. I don't know if you would have to polish those as well to get down to 3.5 pounds or less. And one thing I forgot to mention, guys, is that everything was 100% reliable. Okay. I used 3 different types of ammo, 2 different 115 grain and 124 grain as well. And no light primer strikes, no failures, nothing. All right. Everything ran pretty smoothly. So it does what it says it does. And, again, the only thing that I have is just a polished fire control group, and it's a quote unquote mil spec or standard fire control group. All right, that's been polished. I would say it's a thumbs up, guys. Give it a try. You definitely will notice a difference. And like I said, we're just analyzing, the before and after the springs and just splitting hairs. But in all, it's nothing that's noticeable, when you're pulling the trigger fast. All right, it breaks. It still breaks crisp. Still breaks really quick. And for me, in this case, it's just a little bit over a pound lighter. Okay. So it definitely makes a difference when you're shooting, 4 or 5 or 7 shots or 10 shots, all in rapid succession. All right. But we're going to go and we're going to dive into some more to see if we can get down even lower than that. All right. So I got a few more tricks that I want to test out and try out. And then, of course, try them out at the range and put, 100 rounds or so through. And then I'll report back to you guys with the next update on the trigger. All right, guys. See you on the next one.